Okay, today I'm going to show you how to make the iconic butter chicken in under 60 minutes. Let's get into it. Okay, let's get into it. So we're going to start off with 1 kg of chicken thighs cut into bite-sized pieces and a little bit bigger. And then we're going to go in with 4 tablespoons of natural yogurt. And I've got 6 to 7 garlic cloves over there. I'm going to peel them and grate them in. And then I'm going to go in with some fresh ginger. Not the entire thing, just a small piece of that. And I'm going to grate that in as well. Now, if you don't have a grater, you can always get the garlic and ginger, put it in a pestle and mortar and it till it's crushed, basically. So you're going to go in with a large pinch of salt and then the spices. So we've got 3/4 teaspoon of turmeric, 1 teaspoon of coriander powder, 3/4 teaspoon of garam masala and half a teaspoon of chili powder. You're going to add all of that in, and actually the garam masala is optional. You are going to add more into the curry later on, but you just add more flavor. So you're going to go in with 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil and half a lemon juiced. Now this is the important bit. Don't be shy, go in with your hands. You don't need gloves, man. You're going to be eating this. Who else is going to be eating it? Apart from the people that you care about. So mix it properly, and then you can set this aside to marinate for at least 2 hours or overnight, preferably. But we are doing this under 60 minutes, so you can marinate it and then come back to the recipe after the marination period. So starting on the curry, we're going to start off with 2 medium white onions. We're going to slice them till it looks like this, basically. You don't have to be super thin. And then we've got 3 small to medium tomatoes. These are like small to medium supermarket size. We're going to remove the booty hole like we just did there and cut these into quarters. And that's all the prep we've done, man. Yeah, super easy. So you're going to put this pan on heat. That's a very good pan. You should definitely check it out. I use it for all my curries. I'm going to melt 1 tablespoon of ghee, and then we're going to start batch cooking this chicken. We're not going to overcrowd the pan. We want to get a bit of charring on there. So you're going to start the batch cooking process, and then once that's done, and can you see a bit of golden there? Remove it, and then add in the next batch, and it might get a bit brown at the bottom of the pan. You can, in between batch cooking, maybe deglaze the pan with a bit of water. Or you can use a non-stick pan, which I probably should have done. But you're going to move that to the side, and because we are multitasking to get this done quick as that's cooking, I'm going to do 2 tablespoons of ghee in another pan, 3 tablespoons of oil. That is quite a bit of oil, but you can add a tiny bit less if you want. And then we're going to go in with 3 cardamom pods and 2 cinnamon sticks. Throw that in and cook this off for 30 seconds. Once we've done that, we're going to go in with the onions and a tiny bit of salt. That's going to allow the onions to start breaking down quicker and easier. Okay, that batch is done, so I'm going to put that aside, and then we're going to cook these onions for 2 to 3 minutes until it starts softening a little, and then we're going to go in with 2 garlic and ginger blocks. Then we're going to cook this for another 2 minutes until them blocks dissolve, and then I'm going to cook the onions for a further 10 minutes on medium heat whilst adding splashes of water in between and stirring in between as well to prevent burning. That way the onions are going to start softening quicker for the sake of this recipe. Now if you didn't want to cook the onions further and brown them to bring out more flavour, you can do that, but because you're going to be doing that on like a low heat, which is probably the best option to do that, it's going to take you longer than 60 minutes. So it's entirely up to you. But once the onions start looking like this, you're going to go in with the tomatoes. You're going to cook this again for another 10 minutes on medium heat whilst you're stirring, adding splashes of water in between. And that's going to soften the tomatoes. We're going to go in with 1 tablespoon of tomato puree, and we're going to mix that in. Once we've got to that stage, can you see where the tomato and everything is all softened? We don't have to mash it because we are going to blend this all later. So what I'm going to do is transfer this to the other pan, because I just realized that's the better pan to cook this entire curry in, like I do all my curries. At this stage, we're going to go in with a good amount of salt. Remember, we've already salted the chicken, so we don't want to do too much. And then we're going to go in with the spices. So I've got 1 teaspoon of turmeric, 1.5 teaspoon of coriander powder, half teaspoon of chili powder, and 1 teaspoon of cumin powder. We're going to add all of that in, and then we're going to go in with a handful of cashew nuts. This is very important. Don't miss this step. Once you've done that, we're going to mix that through and cook this for a few minutes until we can see some oil separation. Now, I added a splash of water because I used my eyeballs. God gave me them. I used them and I needed it because the spices were drying up. Now, once you've got some oil separation, you're going to go in with 450 to 500 ml of boiling water. Increase the heat and bring this back up to a boil again, and then put the lid on and simmer this on medium heat for 10 minutes. Now, when I say medium heat, I mean the lowest setting on the largest hob. That's going to allow all of the spices to infuse into the dish, and the cashew nuts are going to start softening a little bit as well. Once you've got to this stage, give it a stir, make sure nothing's sticking, turn the heat off, take out the whole spices, the cinnamon sticks, the cardamom pods, and then we're going to start blending this. Now you can transfer this into a blender if you want, but I'm lazy, so I'm just going to do it in this pan. But take care doing it properly. You can also sieve this if you want to smooth the consistency. Entirely up to you. So I've gone in with 1 teaspoon of garam masala, and then we're going to go in with some dried fenugreek, also known as kasuri methi. We're going to stir this and cook this for 1 to 2 minutes, but be careful because this will spit at you, so you can do it on a lower heat. Once you've done that, add in a knob of butter, mix that through, and then add in 150 ml of single cream. Now you can add double cream if you want, but I don't think this dish requires more richness. But anyways, bring it back up to heat, give it a mix. Can you see that consistency? Beautiful. And then we're gonna go in with the chicken pieces that we cooked earlier. Now, I'm not gonna just dash the chicken in there. Can you see all that juice on that plate? That's a lot of oil and stuff like that, so I don't wanna put that in the dish. It's got enough fatness in there. Then I'm gonna stir this through and then bring it back up to heat and then put the lid on and simmer this on low heat for 5 minutes. That should bring the entire dish together. Now you can turn the heat off at this point, give it a stir, and it looks like there's a lot of chicken in there because there is. It's 1.1 kg of chicken. So I kind of lied to you because I recommended 800 grams to 1 kg, but here we are. Anyways, garnish with single cream, chopped fresh coriander, and what I like to do is add crispy fried onions, and this is the final product. Okay, now that the dish is done, I'm going to share with you some tips and tricks on how to make this entire thing perfect. So the first thing I want to talk about is cooking the onions. Now, when I actually cooked the onions in this entire recipe, I did it for about 10 minutes on like a medium heat, adding splashes of water when I needed to prevent burning. However, if you want to bring out more flavor in them onions, you want to caramelize it, which means slow cook it, brown it. Now, in my written recipe, which is in my curry cookbook, you should definitely check it out, I actually take into account the whole onion process, cooking it for 20 minutes, slow cooking it, and then you could do it a bit further if you want to brown it and bring out that flavor. But in this specific recipe right now, in this video, I want to do it all under 60 minutes. And even though I did this recipe under 60 minutes, it's still going to taste good. But obviously, if you want to bring out more flavor from the onions, that sweetness, you can also caramelize it a bit further. Now, point number 2 I want to talk about is the onion to tomato ratio in the base. Now, again, if you check out my cookbook, I keep saying this, but it's a very good book. I mentioned in the book that anytime you use 2 medium onions and 3 small to medium tomatoes, that will provide a sweeter, more balanced masala. Okay? However, if you wanted a bit sharper tasting, what I would recommend, as I do in my book, which is use 1 large onion and 3 large tomatoes. That way there's not too many onions, and sweetness comes from onions, sharpness comes from the tomato. You know what I'm talking about. Either way, the recipe gonna taste banging. So point number 3 I want to talk about is chicken, man. So in this recipe, I use 100% chicken thighs. Okay, you can use a combination of chicken thighs and chicken breast. I don't recommend using just chicken breast because it's just a bit dry in it. However, in this particular recipe, because you're blending the sauce, the chicken breast or just chicken breast would work. It's entirely up to you. I would 100% recommend both. But also, when you get the chicken cut, please do not get tiny pieces like this. Get like tikka chunks. You know when you make like chicken tikka? Tikka chunks. That way you'll have chicken with a bite to them, and also when you're serving it out, when you serve out big chicken pieces, you don't need to give out as many. Don't tell your guests that. Anyway, the 4th point I want to talk about, kind of going off of that point, is cooking the chicken. Now, there's so many recipes I've seen online where people get the chicken, the marinated chicken, and they just slap it all in the flipping pan. Because you're overcrowding the pan, you're going to get so much water releasing from the chicken. The whole point is to cook it a bit separately, get a bit of a char on it so that has a different texture and flavor compared to the curry itself. And then you add it all in and mix it through. That's why I batch cook it. Yeah, it takes a bit longer, but when you're multitasking it whilst the onions and tomatoes are cooking, it's almost like a no-brainer. It's like, okay, then it's not really taking extra time. It's happening at the same time. But if you want to throw it all in the pan, you can do that. But just know that I don't want to be your friend if you do that. And the final point I want to talk about is, which is not really done across a lot of recipes, is adding water. Why do I add water? Because I've seen so many recipes online. They put tinned tomatoes in there, which I do not recommend. Fresh tomatoes all the way. And then what happens is they just put it all in a blender, throw it in there, and then they put double cream in there. So now the consistency of your curry is just thick, man. You don't want that. You want a loose curry where you can dip naan into. Okay, you finish the chicken. What do? That sauce is pure gold flavor, man. Definitely use water. Let all the flavor and spice sit in there for 10 minutes. Allow the cashews to soften up a little, and then blitz it. You'll have a looser sauce with so much flavor, and you're going to be making this on repeat, which I don't recommend. Not good for your heart. Anyways, guys, that is the video. Let me know what you think in the comment section, and if you really liked it, then subscribe. And also, if there's anything else that you want me to make, let me know. I'll see you in the next one.
Today we make butter chicken.